All right, here we go, ladies. All right, so yesterday, quick recap, we found a percent when the percent was missing. So we talked about this. If you get 15 out of 20 on a test, okay, you get a 75% on that test, right? All right, percents are out of that 100, even though there were only 20 questions on that test. Today, the first thing we're going to look at, oh no, Shui, Control Z is my bestie. Number of times I use Control Z in a day is crazy. All right. Today we're going to be finding the percent of a number, the part of a number, rather. Sorry. Okay. So that is if the part is missing. So you know what percent you got, and you know the total questions that were on the test, right? But you don't know how many questions you got correct. That's the type of problem we're looking at today. So the teacher gave you your percent, your score, or your grade, right? And you know, right, you took the test, so you know how many questions were on that test. But you want to know, okay, well, how many questions did I get right then? Kind of thing. Okay. So that's an example here. All right. So let's look at this. In a school, 20% of the teachers teach mathematics. All right. If there are 60 teachers, how many teachers are teaching math in the school? Okay. So you've got part and you've got your whole. All right. So sorry. All right. Remember, you got to find your three things. All right. Your part, your whole, and your percent. And yesterday we were uh, we were highlighting those in different colors so we could tell the difference between those in our problem. All right, so let's do that same thing again. All right, I don't remember what colors I used, but we're going to use blue today for the part and purple for the whole and orange for the percent. All right. All right. So what is your part? Do you have your part here? Skylar's not sure. It says in the school, 20% of the teachers teach mathematics. So 20% is my what? Your percent. Okay. So we know that one, right? We're good on that. Now, it says if there are 60 teachers, how many teachers are teaching mathematics? So it says if there are 60 teachers, is 60 going to be the total number of teachers, or is that the part of the teachers? When the question is, how many teachers are teaching mathematics? So you've got total teachers in the building, and then you've got the number who teach mathematics, right? You with me here? Okay. The the whole is the total number of teachers, right, in the building, correct? The part is going to be the part of those teachers who teach math. Does that make sense in the context? Skylar, quit playing. Take a deep breath. Focus. Focus, girl. You with me? Okay. All right. So if there are 60 teachers, how many teach math in the school? Is 60 the part or is it the whole? Yeah, now we've got it's the whole. That's exactly right. It's the whole. All right. So 60 is my whole there. Okay, because there are there are 60 teachers. All right, and we are looking for the number teaching mathematics. That's what we're looking for. That's our question. All right, ladies with me on that? Okay, so the part is what we don't know yet. Okay, I'm going to throw it out there just because I threw it out there yesterday. I put the word part there. We eventually will use variables to represent that. I could put a P there as a variable. It just means a number we don't know. Okay, but because it's the part that I'm looking for, I went ahead and wrote that word part. The whole was 60, so I plugged that into my my proportional relationship. Yeah, absolutely, Ms. Dushak, you're good. Okay. And then 20 was my percent, so I put that on top of my 100. Okay. Does that make sense how we set that up? Do you remember our uh our equivalent ratios we were using from yesterday, right? Part over whole, you have that written down, equals percent over 100. So that's what I plugged these numbers in. 20%, well, that went into my percent. All right, we said 60 was the whole, so I put it on the bottom and I left the part. And we obviously use our 100 because percents are out of 100. You guys with me on that now? Okay. All right, now, when solving for the part, you just divide the fraction you already know, just like we did yesterday. All right, so this time we're turning our percent into a decimal, right? We just divide, all right? We turned it into a fraction, 20 over 100, and now we're getting it as a decimal, and it should be 0.2. That's exactly right. Okay. Then we multiply by our denominator. Okay, we're finding 20% of 60, so we multiply the denominator. All right, and that is going to give us our part. Okay, that is going to give us our part. Yes. So there are 12 teachers who teach math in the school. All right, does that make sense, ladies? Yeah? All right, well, let's do some practice. Okay, let's do some practice. Yeah. And write your proportional relationship, your equivalent ratios. Okay, remember, you're setting them all up the same, right? Part over whole equals percent over 100.